guys, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. If that is the case, consider yourself lucky because you missed quite the journey. Getting here was not necessarily the easiest of processes. I did document it on my YouTube channel, which at certain points of the journey I regretted because I'm like, it wasn't going great. There was a lot that I also just didn't know, a lot I wasn't prepared for. I really wish I was, and that's why I'm making this video. So even if you don't plan on buying a house within the next couple of months or couple of years, I still think this is valuable information you can kind of just keep in your back pocket, and hopefully it will save you a lot of cluelessness. Like, I was so clueless. Heartbreak, there were definitely some tears shed. It was like one of the craziest processes ever, as it should be. It is the biggest purchase I'll probably ever make in my entire life. I didn't buy this in cash, by the way. I, just put down a down payment, but that's still a lot of money. So here are 10 things I wish I knew before buying this house. Figure we can move around a bit to keep things spicy, also to give you guys like a little house tour. But number one, oh, such a big mistake I made. Don't look at houses that are not in your budget. First of all, like, the big problem is creating a budget for yourself, because I think the bigger tip here is make sure you are on the same page as your partner if you are buying a house with someone else, because technically the dream house that I found and fell in love with and decided I needed to live in was in my budget that I had thought of for myself, but it was not in his budget. We just had very different ideas of what we wanted to spend on a house, which I don't think is totally uncommon. Obviously, everyone just has different priorities. And for me, I have been saving for so many years for a house. Like, that meant more to me than necessarily buying like different clothing, or like, it's just, that's what I value. For him, not so much. Like, obviously he really wants a nice house, but he just didn't necessarily want his money going as much toward a house. So I ended up finding a house that was at the top of my budget, that was not in his budget at all of what he wanted to spend. We looked at it, I fell in love. And like, in my head, my justification for looking at it was, well, maybe we'll get the house for so much less. Like, if it's like X amount of money, maybe we could put in a lowball offer and then we get the house for like $80,000 less. Like, oh my gosh. What ended up happening was essentially a bidding war. Like, essentially like, oh my gosh, they're putting in this, we have to like max our offer, and it ended up being not a very fun situation. So one, I recommend being on the same page with your partner, but two, I don't necessarily think it's a good idea to have in the back of your mind like, oh, like maybe like the price will drop. Like, until that price drops, don't look at the house. Like, don't go into it thinking, oh, maybe this will happen, because I just got my hopes up so much, and what ended up happening is they took the other people's offer, not ours. Even though, funnily enough, the other people offered less than us. It was a very sketchy situation. But with that being said, and this leads me to number two, if it's meant to be, it'll be. And this is so true when it comes to the home buying process. It's so competitive. Either the interest rates are super low and everyone is buying houses, people are buying houses left and right, and oh my gosh, or they're super high and there's not a lot on the market. And it's just, if it's meant to be, it'll be. In my experience, hammered this home so much, guys. I thought I lost out on my dream home, the only house that was ever going to make me happy, because one of my favorite hobbies is just looking at houses, touring houses. I just love that. So I have looked at, I don't know, maybe like over 100 homes over the past couple of years. And I found this one that was over our budget that we did not get. And like, I've just never walked into a house and wanted a house so much. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is my moment. If I don't get this, like, I'm never going to find a house that's like this, because I haven't in the past. Well, it was less than a week later, this house came into the picture, the one I am in right now, that was the same exact floor plan to a T. Like, you could probably tell, and we're gonna tell throughout the house tour, it's a very unique floor plan with like multi-levels. Like, our bedroom is on its own floor, and then we have a few other bedrooms upstairs. Like, it's a really cool floor plan that I fell in love with. So same exact floor plan, except it's brand new. The one that I fell in love with was like 5 or 6 years old, and it's about $150,000 less. There were a couple of things at play there, though. The house that we wanted to buy was coming with some furniture that they were throwing in, a hot tub. It had a really cool fireplace that I fell in love with. But still, this one was $150,000 less. Like, that is huge. And I am so grateful that our offer got declined. Like, In the moment, it didn't feel like it, but it ended up being the biggest blessing of my entire life so far. Like, truly, my mortgage is that much less. I'm spending that much less money every month. My down payment was that much less. Like, I will always feel so grateful for the way that played out. And it came with a moment of sadness and despair, so be prepared for that. But it all worked out how it was supposed to. And that leads me to my next point. Things can be changed. So you might walk into a house and be like, oh, it doesn't have this, this, and this, but think to yourself, like, well, can we put that in? Can we put that in the budget? Like, is this house maybe a little cheaper? And you're like, oh man, it's not as great as the house I want, but you can use that extra cash to make it the house you want. I mean, obviously, fixer-uppers are so popular, but for me personally, with that dream home that I loved so much, one of the best parts that I loved was the fireplace. Like, it was just this great big fireplace, really high ceilings. I loved it, and I just hadn't been seeing that in the homes I was touring in my price range. And when I toured this house, the house that I am currently in, it just had one big blank wall. Kind of looked ugly, wasn't inviting, wasn't my favorite. And then I realized, well, first of all, for me, my dad is a carpenter, so that is very handy. We can create our own fireplace. And you guys know, this is like my favorite part of the house, the fireplace. My dad spent just under 2 weeks here building it from scratch. He built the bookcases from scratch. He installed the mantle, the TV, like everything. He did everything with the help of my brother as well. I was not a help, I'm not gonna lie, but we created my dream house because this truly, this living room would not be what it is without this fireplace at all. I know that, like, it's a fact. And so it felt like we created my dream house, and it was really hard to envision. Props to my mom, who was the one who was like, we can do this. She was like the visionary. And it was so hard to picture when we were here the first time, but it came to life. And might I add, the fireplace that my dad built is approximately 73 times better than the fireplace in that dream house. Like, it's not even funny, the comparison. It's so much better. My next tip is to be open to different neighborhoods, because for us, we were looking at very specific neighborhoods for no other reason than these are the ones that we were exposed to, the ones that we had spent a lot of time in. And that was really it. I mean, obviously these are neighborhoods we loved, but we hadn't really broadened our search until we didn't get the dream home. And I'm so happy with where we are. For those of you who don't know, I'm in the greater Cincinnati area, and I'd always heard of this neighborhood. It's just, I hadn't really spent a lot of time here, but I love it. I'm so happy that we did broaden our search. A lot of the neighborhoods we were looking at had very, very old homes that were so much money, where it felt like you were getting like this little home for this great big price. All of a sudden, we discovered this neighborhood we're in now, and it just felt like the gates of heaven were like opening up, and I was like, what? This exists? It feels like a little like utopia in this neighborhood. With that being said, obviously don't consider a neighborhood that's going to be 45 minutes away from your work or where you're making a huge sacrifice. I think location is so important. My point is, I didn't know this existed. And obviously it hits all of my criteria with distance to downtown, safety, the feel of the community. Like, we wanted like a very family oriented community, and we love it. My next tip probably seems very straightforward, but this is something I did not do. I regret not doing. Find a trusted real estate agent before you even begin the process. And I say trusted because at the end of the day, it's every man for themselves. I mean, as much as you might, really connect with someone or think you're friends and wow, this person has my back, do they? Because, they're trying to pay their own mortgage, right? Like, they're trying to create their own deals, create their own income, and I don't fault anyone for that. But for us, we walked into the dream house with the seller's agent. It was just me, Zach, and the seller's agent. There was no one representing us. There was no one who had our back, our best interests at heart. I wish we had someone representing us. Technically, I don't. I mean, technically, just the way everything worked out, I'm like, thank goodness it was, just us. Thank goodness we lost out on that house. Just, like I said, it really worked out the way it was supposed to. But for next time, if I ever do purchase a house again, or just for you guys, make sure you have someone in your corner. It's very important. And ultimately, it would have saved us just a lot of confusion and waiting and ultimately getting played. My next tip, and I tell this to absolutely anyone who will listen, now that I know, is to consider move-in ready new homes. It is the only way we ended up in the house we did for the price we did. Like normally we would not be able to afford this, but this is like a secret hack that I just feel like more people should know about. And I'm just so glad I discovered this. So for a lot of us, building your own home is a dream that we can't afford though. I mean, that's so expensive to work with a company and, you know, pick out each and everything. And that's so fun, right? Picking out like, oh my gosh, like what will my countertops look like and the island and the backsplash and all of this. Building companies though, almost always have move-in ready homes available where they had a plot of land, they put it up for sale. No one put an offer in on it, right? Like no one said, hey, I want to build with you. But they start building anyway. And they just build, you know, their own designs. They make their own choices. And eventually that home is just on the market for sale. Who wants this? We built this brand new home. And as the months go by and no one says yes, the price decreases and decreases and decreases until Zach and I came along. We saw this home and we were like, what the heck? Why is no one buying this? If I were to look online at what the home originally would have cost when it was listed for sale, it is over $100,000 more than what we ended up buying it for. That is so much money. And listen, there are a couple of things where if this was my home, I probably would have picked different finishes or even our kitchen. Like it was always my dream to have like a bright white neutral kitchen, and ours has black countertops. That's something I never ever considered in a million years. It's grown on me. Like I kind of like our black countertops and like the black and white look, and obviously I'm like starting to decorate it and do all of that, and it's funny that it has grown on me. And at the end of the day, like a new home is a new home, whether it's granite or quartz or like this backsplash. Like I'm happy. Like I'm sure it's gonna be great, you know what I mean? Like it's not like anything is that crazy. The walls are neutral. Like it's not like it's going to be some sort of like eclectic taste. Pretty much all of the homes honestly pretty much look the same. But the great thing about the new homes, first of all, there's just like nothing better than having a brand new home. Like we still even have the brand new home scent or smell in here. But also with these newer homes, the windows, oh my gosh. Because when I was looking at some of the older homes, I don't know if back in the day they did not believe in windows and closet space. I feel like they did not believe in closet space back in the day. But it's like a little porthole for the whole house. Whereas with a lot of these newer homes, just the windows, and it's just, I really, really enjoy the new build. And we would not have been able to afford this without that little hack. My next tip is to put as much down as humanly possible. And I was always kind of this mindset. I wanted to put more down. Zach wanted to put a little less. We ended up meeting somewhere in the middle. We put down, I think, just under 30%. The more you put down, and now that I'm paying a mortgage, I am realizing, oh my gosh, just how much interest costs. Like, just put it down. But that's all I could say. Because, and the reason I ended up siding with Zach and being like, okay, like we'll be a little more conservative with it, is I thought like, all right, if we want cash to finish the basement and furnish everything. But at the end of the day, like it's fine though. Like with this whole thing, don't put yourself in a place you're going to regret, right? So I know I'm contradicting myself, but even like with the 15-year and 30-year mortgage thing, do a 30-year, and if you want to pay it off sooner, great, but then you won't be like tied down to like, oh my gosh, a 15-year mortgage, because it costs a lot less over the long run, but you're paying so much more each month. So, you know, don't tie yourself down to anything crazy. And that's why like putting a little less down is not a regret of mine. It wasn't that much less, but I just want you to be aware of the fact that interest is a killer, and how much you put down truly determines how much you are going to be paying over the course of the next 30 years. Like, it's crazy. This next one honestly might be the most important tip I tell you, so please listen up because I did not know this. Shop around for a mortgage. I had actually heard that before. I didn't realize it. So basically, we had a family friend we ended up going with for our mortgage, and I thought, okay, like obviously they're getting us like, you know, the best deal possible, great. Well, because we were getting this new build home, we were forced to at least get our credit scores run and at least get an offer from a different mortgage company in this whole process. Like honestly, when they told me that, I was like, you're wasting your time. Like we're going with a family friend. Like, you know, we want to remain loyal. Well, that other company, like the one that our home builder was associated with, ended up saving us so much money. I don't know how. I don't know why they were able to get the deals that they were. It's just two different companies. I don't know, two different connections they have. They were offering us an entire point less. And before I bought a house, I had no idea what that meant. The companies are all offering different things. You have to shop around, guys. Like, this is just so important to me. I know it's like very boring to talk about, but the amount of money that we are saving all because we were forced into checking in with that other company, it's just like astounding. Like, I am so grateful. Oh my gosh. This next one isn't really commonly talked about, but it ended up being very important for me to realize and keep in mind, and it's that weather can really impact your experience when looking at homes. Because when I looked at that dream house, it was, first of all, in the middle of winter, but we suddenly had this crazy nice, sunny, 60-degree day where, of course, I was gonna fall in love with the house. I'm not saying that was the only reason, but like, oh my gosh, like the sun was shining on the house and we had just gotten out of this dark winter that we were still in the middle of. Like, I just was like, this is perfect. Little did I like realize like the weather was playing a huge part in my feelings. Then when we looked at the house I'm sitting in right now, I was like, I don't understand. It's the same floor plan. It's the same everything. I can't put my finger on it, but it just feels like sad in here. Like that, like I remember distinctly thinking that. I realized it was the rainiest, coldest, worst day ever. It was so gloomy in here. Honestly, today as I'm filming it, it's like the gloomiest day ever. So my apologies if the lighting isn't as good, but I realized when I went home that night, because I was taking all these videos of inside the house so I could remember it, oh my gosh, I'm pretty sure what I'm missing is the sun. Like the sun just created such a different vibe in the other house, and it's always going to create a different vibe. So keep in mind, like if you're looking at a bunch of houses and you're thinking like, oh, that one house on that rainy day, maybe it was the rain that was throwing you off. And obviously there are going to be rainy days no matter what. I'm just saying like you're going to be comparing apples to oranges if you're looking at houses in all different weather conditions. So yeah, I realized that as I was looking at houses, and I bet I'm not the only person that has happened to. And number 10, the last thing I wish I knew is there really is no perfect time to buy, because I had been kind of just waiting, looking at the market. Every day I would Google like real estate market predictions. What will the market look like in the summer months? What will it look like here, there? There's never a perfect time to buy, because as I said before, if the interest rates are awesome, you're going to be competing with everyone. Everyone is going to be buying. And if the interest rates suck, well, the home prices then drop. Like it all evens out. And even those people who are like, I feel like people love to do that like humble brag, like I bought my house 6 years ago and currently it's worth like $100,000 more. But here's the thing, that's awesome. If you're trying to buy that same house somewhere else, all of the houses are that much more now, right? Like, so you're not necessarily profiting that. Like it's all like a weird mind game, this whole real estate thing. And obviously, eventually you can refinance. Right now the mortgage rates suck. They're not great. I mean, they're not anything nearly as bad as like when our parents were buying houses back in the day, but they're not great compared to what they've been. However, the market is way less competitive. So that was a huge advantage when we were buying our house. Yeah, those are all of my tips. I'm telling you guys, it is going to work out the way it is supposed to. I should actually add another thing that I wish I knew. Decorating and furnishing a house, a lot more difficult than I thought. Like, I guess I was just so used to furnishing an apartment where it's like, I have like 4 walls, right? Like I have 4 walls I'm decorating. And now, I mean, you could see, like, we really have not done much in the way of decorating. So definitely on my to-do list. I'm really not trying to rush anything though. Like I want to wait and make good decisions, and the time will come when it comes. I'm just trying to trust the process. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any other tips or things you wish you knew, leave it in a comment below, because maybe this can be like a little space where we help each other out. It's a journey, guys. It really is a journey. But I'll have all of my social media links below, and I'll see you next video with a vlog. Bye.